Alfredo's beat 2 units is shooting at the Safeway. I know an article, and a caller's reporting a shooting him out with a semi-automatic weapon. He shot at people, and he was last seen headed towards the Walgreens. He ran northbound out of the store wearing a black hoodie and blue jeans. And we have a caller who believes that Gabrielle Giffords was shot. That's multiple victims.
On Saturday morning, Gabby, her staff, and many of her constituents gathered outside the supermarket to exercise their right to peaceful assembly and free speech. Gabby called it Congress on your corner. Just an updated version of government of and by and for the people.
Pushing the stuff out, and it's all contacted the sheriff.
Okay, so that it's on film.
County attorney and the sheriff.
Yeah, Arpaio took $99 million. They got him on.
That's a tenth of what our judge sheriff was taking. Our sheriff has been corrupt a lot longer than Arpaio. Arpaio just got over the gravy train.
Yeah, well, Dupnik's been around for 30 years.
Yes,
Pretty good, decent fellow.
So it's got to be more than 10
But he
times
had
that.
an undersheriff that was under him that took all the money. His name was Wyckoff.
County attorney
Wyckoff
taking all the
was shot and paralyzed by a whore that he was taking the money away from, who was a madam. And it kind of went under the way. But Wyckoff was the one that was taking all the gambling money, all the immigration money, people coming into the country, and the forfeiture money. And Wyckoff was real bad. So it goes back a long time.
How did he lose to Dupnik when Dupnik...
He was old. He was very old.
Oh, so he's ready.
Yeah, he was ready to retire.
I can't believe this Dupnik character. This guy is dangerous.
He's been a yes man ever since the day he went in office.
I've lived in Tucson 13 years, and I've never been so terrified to live here as I have the last few weeks based on what I've been learning about the sheriff's department and all that.
The sheriff's department ain't the one you got to worry about. The one you got to worry about is the psychologically profiled people that's on the illegal drug program, the methadone program. They'll threaten somebody that's psychologically profiled, and they'll take them off of the methadone program.
Methadone, I don't know what that is.
Methadone is synthetic opium, and it's a funded program. It's a federally funded program to keep people off dope.
Well, I never do that, so...
So they go in for the dope. Now, there's 6 of those centers in town. If you want to get a good story, go up and look at those people that's on the methadone program. There's young girls that are being used in slavery, white slavery, prostitutes, and all this other stuff is on the program. And the people that's on the program are addicted, and they're trapped. They're caught. And if the county wants to take their drugs away from them, they'll do anything. They turn on their mother to get those drugs back. And those people are the ones that's doing all the danger. Those people make witnesses against anybody they want to frame. Those people can do anything they want to do with them. They can do anything what they want done. So the methadone program, it's just a way of controlling everybody else, because those people will do what they want them to do, no matter what. And they'll swear to hell freezes over. That's where a lot of good people have been convicted.
But what about these departmental employees with the SWAT team? What do you think of those guys?
They're just playing a game. They've been playing cowboy robbers and killers and so forth. And their psychological profile to do just exactly that. They're killers. They're paid killers. The fellow that set this program up, Carmona, whatever his name is, he's the one that set it up, and it's been a guideline for all these other people. You'll find it goes clean back to Waco. You see it go back to Ruby Ridge. You see it all over the whole country. It's all played. He's setting the things up. It's just a way of.
That's Richard Carmona.
Yeah, it's a way of taking these over. My brother and him got into it real bad one time. I thought they was going to kill Bill, and Carmona would have killed him if he thought he could get away with it. There was too many people who saw it.
How long before he died that happened?
Several years, 4 or 5 years.
Incidentally, I looked at the autopsy report, Joe. There were 2 other people. So there were 3 people. Did you know that?
Yes, I know.
Because you always said that there was 1 other person.
There's at least 3. But they turned them loose. They caught the other one. I was in a police car with him when they caught him. He had a rifle. He was out there at the same place. They turned him loose.
Why were you in the police car?
They picked me up when I went out there to see my brother. They put me in a police car, locked me in a car, and run this other guy down. They called another car. They wouldn't put him in the same car with me. Called another car, picked him up, and they turned him loose. Did the same thing up on the hill. My brother was in that shooting up there. My brother had to kill the guy. The guy was going to kill him with a knife. They had a big couple of knives. And they turned the guy loose on that. One, they couldn't turn loose because he was dead. But the other one got a bullet to him. They took him to the hospital, and they turned him loose at the hospital. Took the bullet out and turned him loose.
They took Sheldon in and put him in jail for a night for nothing.
Just because I was enforcing discipline on my kids as a father. I can't even go back to my own house.
Well, you're lucky. You're lucky they're still alive.
I was just comparing the difference between people they turn loose and people that they want to keep in jail.
When they took me in, Bill and I went and told the police that there was some guys stealing stuff at the ranch. They arrested us. They beat hell out of us right there. Took us to jail. Took our clothes off of us. Threw us in what they call a suicide watch and kept us there in a freezing room overnight. The next day they turned us loose with a bond. And they took guns away from Bill, told him not to have any guns at the ranch. Turned him loose, he went out there and they killed him.
And that we can be assured that society is safe with a person who owns a weapon. We do the same thing for automobiles or any other technology, if you will, that the average citizen gets to use. We ensure that they can use it safely because we always have to look at the greater good of society. So I think that, we need to stop the partisan bickering, blaming each side of the aisle. Thoughtful people in an adult manner need to sit down and tackle these very difficult problems.
They arrested us, but only after they called in and found out who we were. And they arrested me and Bill, but they beat hell out of us on the ground there. And the ambulance took us to the hospital. And they took us to the hospital, then they released us from the hospital and took us right to jail. And they took the guns away from Bill and that and so forth. I should have known better to let Bill go out to ranch. And then they killed him. But we had the SWAT team out there a dozen times. They would serve a warrant nailing it on a fence post a mile away. And they'd show up with a SWAT team, go through the place, take all the computers, take anything that we had, look for records, take everything, and then cut the electric off. And then it would cost $1,000 or $2 to cut the electric back off. That was a standard way of doing it. Or they'd charge us with something, and then we'd have to hire a lawyer, and then they'd drop the charges. That's been done a dozen times. That's the standard way they do things.
So 12 times you had to turn the electric back on?
Half a dozen times anyway. I don't remember exactly how many times it was, half a dozen anyway. But we'd had a dozen fights with them for no reason. They would cut the electricity off with a warrant with a SWAT team because they found an electric cord plugged into electric. They said that was breaking a violation of health codes. The judges didn't like to even sign these warrants, but they could put such a pressure on them, they would sign them anyway.
Do you think it's odd that they're going to Jose Clarence?
That maybe it's time to review some of the policies?
We're always reviewing our policies, and that's one of the purposes of our shooting board, which is going to be meeting next week. But as far as the other criticism, let me tell you that the Pima County has a nationally recognized SWAT team. As a matter of fact, one of our commanders goes all over the country instructing other organizations on SWAT techniques and protocols. We have one that's known internationally, Dr. Richard Carmona, who goes all over the world talking about SWAT. In my judgment, we have a premier SWAT organization, and at this point, I don't see any need. This is an unfortunate situation that was provoked by the person himself.
So you don't see any need at this point to make any changes?
Well, I'm going to let the shooting review board, which is going to be comprised of the 4 agencies that had people involved in this particular shooting. We had reason to believe that he probably was going to be there. We also had reason to believe that the kids may not, and the mother, because they're supposed to be at school. Mm-hmm. That was their normal pattern. But we didn't conduct a surveillance that day because we would have been identified. We can't do that. First of all, when we're serving search warrants on properties, it's typical for when the people find out that you're outside the house to start destroying evidence that they can, burning documents and things of this nature, and that's one of the reasons that we don't do that. We had no reason at all to believe that this was anything other than any of the multitude of other search warrants that we serve where we've never had a problem. We had no reason to believe this guy was going to do that, but because he's part of a very violent organization, we consider it high risk.
I think he was working for a living. If he was making all this money, why was he going to work every day?
He worked 12-hour shift at a Sarco mine.
Yeah. Why in the hell would he work that kind of time if he had the money?
I'll tell you what I think. I think that they killed his Jose to send a message to his brother for, being in competition with the American drug cartel, which is what Dupnik's protecting.
I don't know if it was that. I don't know what it was. But it may be that the rest of the family was not paying the county the money to stay in business. They had to make an example.
They made an example. That's what it was.
And a lot of others that are doing the same thing.
They fucked up big time because this is something that people aren't going to let Dupnik get away with.
I think he'll get away with it.
I mean,
I think he'll get away with it.
If you let me post that, that'll take care of that.
You're going to get a lot of people in trouble, including yourself. I'm telling you.
Seen the whole video that you made?
Yeah, I showed it to him before you came.
I'm telling you, you don't know what kind of trouble you're stirring up. I'm an old man.
And even Peter's talking about you over there that you really got to watch what you're doing right now.
Peter?
Yeah.
What do you mean talking?
You need to, be careful. He even sees what you're kind of stepping lines here.
You're off of the line. You're already over the fence. There's drug people involved in this that don't want this out. They're paying these people with the county and the sheriff and that, and all he has to do is say, this man is threatening us. He's going to put us out of business. Your life ain't worth a nickel.
I never considered my life worth anything. There's no reason for me to live anymore, Joe.
That's not the way to look at it.
Am I going to serve beyond this point?
Not just that's the way to look at it.
I've done what I did with my books on health and nutrition. I figured out the gold thing. I figured out, the whole Rockefeller thing with the history of addiction and gold. I've done it. I don't need to do it anymore. And I figured this thing out, which is Project Loopy.
How many people is listening to you?
I think you should redo the video just so your voice ain't in it and Joe's face ain't in it. Just
you're going to get us both killed if you ain't careful. I'm telling you right now, you're playing with something that poor Doug. I don't care what you say about Doug. Doug went down and done that film for against that. How much money do you think that Dupnik and the rest of these people are getting from these Mexican women that they're throwing across the line that's going into white slavery, being shipped off to China?
The question that I have is if Dupnik, for example, is worth $1 billion. See, if Arpaio took $99 million, and you say that Dupnik is worth 10 times that, well, that's...
Well, Dupnik, I don't think got that kind of sense. I think he's got some people under him that's got the money. Okay. I think Dupnik has been happy to take what he wanted.
Yeah.
And his daughters got caught.
My question, she did the stolen drugs. But my question is, how does Dupnik live? Does he have a mansion somewhere, or does he...
He's an alcoholic. All he needs is a bottle. They pick him up in the morning, he drinks all day, and they take him home.
He kind of looks that way.
He is an alcoholic.
Yeah.
You've talked to...
Nose is the giveaway when it's like a cauliflower nose.
Well, you've talked to his secretary. You know what I'm talking about. She won't tell you a lot because she's afraid of you.
No, she was willing to talk. I'd spend hours with her on the phone, but she talks about nonsensical things.
Well, she's afraid of you. She told me, she said, he's a loose cannon. He's going to get somebody killed.
Well, that's why I'm not...
Dupnik's secretary said that?
Yes.
No, she's a retired one. She's one of the ladies that comes to our meetings. Her name is...
Rosemary or something.
Rosamunda.
And she used to be Dupnik's secretary?
Yes, she worked there for years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's Rosamunda. But I don't really believe what she says. I don't know.
Maybe you don't want to believe it, but it's true.
Yeah.
She was there. But I'm telling you, you're playing with something that gets you killed.
Okay, Joe, I heard that.
Look, I had 5 good friends that took a little bit of metal off and never came back. They're all dead.
That video needs to get out, but I think you should add it.
Yeah, see, my name isn't on it. The only thing is a voice. Really,
it shows your bike on it.
It needs to be a book. It needs to be done without the, my name off. It needs to be a pen name. And it just needs to get out there. But people don't read anymore, and that's what I'm afraid of. They need to see a video.
You're going to have to go back. It started so long ago that you're not even funny. There was a big hotel fire here 40, 50 years ago.
Judge John Roll served our legal system for nearly 40 years. A graduate of this university and a graduate of this law school. To become Arizona's chief federal judge. His colleagues described him as the hardest working judge.
Beyond the point of return, I think the country's already gone. I don't think there's anything left.
I agree. I don't think anybody can save this country at this point. It's too far out of control.
See, Joe, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I don't think there is a future if I don't give it a shot. So I'm dead anyway. I mean, they're turning this place into a prison.